In much of Western culture, especially in medieval Europe, black cats were often associated with bad luck, witches, and the supernatural. It was commonly believed that witches could transform into black cats to avoid detection, or that black cats were their familiars, assisting them in their dark arts. Let the story of Black Cat begins. In a small village nestled deep within the forests of medieval Europe, the villagers lived in constant fear of the unknown. Shadows seemed to stretch longer there, and the air always carried a chill, even in the height of summer. The village was isolated, surrounded by dense woods that were said to be haunted by spirits and creatures that thrived in the darkness. But of all the fears that plagued the villagers, none was more dreaded than the appearance of a black cat. The superstition had been passed down for generations: if a black cat crossed your path, it was a sign that death was near. The cat was believed to be a witch's familiar, a demon in disguise, or even the witch herself, transformed to walk among the unsuspecting. No one dared speak of it openly, but everyone knew the stories. One autumn, as the nights grew longer and the shadows deeper, a black cat appeared on the outskirts of the village. It was first spotted by Old Man Hensley, a reclusive farmer who lived alone after his wife had passed away years before. He was returning home from the market when he saw it, a sleek, midnight black cat sitting in the middle of the path, its eyes glowing like embers in the dim light of dusk. Old Man Hensley froze. The cat stared at him, unblinking, as if daring him to continue. His heart raced as he remembered the stories his mother had told him as a child. He muttered a quick prayer, made the sign of the cross, and hurried past, refusing to look back. But the feeling of dread clung to him like a cold mist. The next morning, the villagers awoke to the news that Old Man Hensley had been found dead in his bed, his face twisted in terror, his hands clutching at his chest as if he had tried to ward off something unseen. The black cat was gone, but its presence lingered, the first harbinger of the evil to come. In the days that followed, the black cat appeared again and again, always at twilight, always crossing the path of another unfortunate soul. Each time, death followed. A young mother found her baby cold in its crib after the cat had been seen in her garden. A farmer's livestock began to die mysteriously, one by one, after the cat had wandered into his field. The village priest fell ill and died within days after the cat crossed his path on his way to the church. Fear spread like wildfire. The villagers whispered of witches and curses, of dark forces that had come to claim them. They began to avoid the roads at dusk, locking their doors and windows as soon as the sun began to set. But no matter how hard they tried, the black cat always seemed to find its way into their lives. Desperate, the villagers sought the counsel of the old widow Agnes, who lived at the edge of the forest. She was said to have knowledge of the old ways, of spells and charms that could protect against evil. With trembling hands, they brought her gifts and begged her to rid the village of the cursed cat. Agnes listened to their pleas and agreed to help, but her face was grim. She warned them that the cat was no ordinary creature, but a manifestation of dark magic, bound to a powerful witch who had once lived in the village long ago. The witch had been wronged by the villagers and had vowed revenge, cursing the land and its people before her death. The black cat, she said, was the embodiment of that curse, and it could not be easily defeated. Still, Agnes prepared a ritual, gathering herbs, candles, and a silver knife said to have been blessed by a saint. The villagers gathered in the church, where the ritual was to be performed, their fear palpable in the air. They watched as Agnes chanted ancient words, her voice rising and falling in a rhythmic incantation. The candles flickered, and a cold wind blew through the church, even though the windows were closed. And then, as the ritual reached its climax, the black cat appeared at the church door. It stood there, silent and still, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The villagers gasped in terror, but Agnes remained calm, her eyes locked on the creature. She raised the silver knife, ready to strike, but as she stepped forward, the cat let out a low, menacing hiss. In that moment, the candles were snuffed out, plunging the church into darkness. The villagers screamed, but their cries were cut short as a terrible force swept through the room, knocking them to the ground. When the lights were finally relit, the black cat was gone, and Agnes lay lifeless on the floor, the silver knife clutched in her hand. The villagers were left in stunned silence. They had sought to rid themselves of the curse, but it seemed the witch's vengeance was far stronger than they had ever imagined. From that day on, the black cat was never seen again, but the fear it had instilled remained, a dark shadow over the village. The death stopped, but the village never recovered. The once bustling streets became empty, homes were abandoned, and soon the forest began to reclaim the land. The villagers who remained spoke of the curse in hushed tones, passing the story down to their children as a warning: beware the black cat, for it is the harbinger of death, and the spirit of the witch still walks among us, seeking revenge from beyond the grave.